today's episode, we feature Raja Vaidya, a singing, scientist, martial artist, and international keynote speaker whose journey from a childhood speech impediment to a life of advocacy and achievement is nothing short of remarkable. Raja's insights into invisible disabilities, resilience, and the power of compassion will challenge you to rethink what it means to belong and how we can all create more inclusive spaces at work and beyond. During our conversation, Mel shared a deeply personal story of her own and asked Raja what he would tell her as her 10-year-old self and anyone else feeling isolated by their challenges.
I love your message about us having compassion and knowing that there's more around the story. And I'm wondering, what would, if I could go back and talk to 10-year-old Mel, what do you think I should have said to her?
Oh, I have the perfect thing to say to her. You are not alone.
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing that I felt growing up was, oh my God, I'm a freak. I don't fit in society. Nobody wants to be my friend. I can't talk to girls. I mean, can you imagine a 13-year-old trying to talk to a girl to ask her to dance, and you already have enough nervousness and you got that on top of that, so we can laugh about it now. But had I known when I was younger, there were so many other people. According to the Mayo Clinic, 5 to 10% of children grow up with some sort of a speech challenge. That means up to 30 million children have this growing up, and some of them grow out of it. Some of them just learn to speak a little bit more fluently, and some don't. But 1 out of 10 people in the U.S. Wow. And people don't even realize that the numbers are so high.
Stay with us. Raja's story is packed with moments like this, honest, uplifting, and deeply practical. Whether you're a leader, a parent, or someone searching for your own voice, you'll find inspiration and actionable ideas. We explore how embracing our invisible challenges and those of others can transform not only just our lives, but our workplaces and our communities. Don't miss what comes next. I'm Lauren Mask. Please join me and my best friends at work, Naomi Lippin and Mel Boyd Brown, where we invite experts to talk about work, life, and leadership, and how to do them better. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. I love that pink fuchsia color, Mel.
Thanks. It's very pink fuchsia.
It is. Well, it's making me think springtime when we have this horrible frozen tundra going on outside my window.
Yeah, same.
It's winter, Lauren. It's winter. It is winter.
Yeah, and it means a coat, my earmuffs, and then I can't hear my child speak because he talks too low. I'm wearing ski gloves because I'm so cold, and it doesn't feel good. And oh my gosh, I still have to go out in it. I don't know. Mel, it was -5 degrees Fahrenheit on Monday, and that's really cold for us. I don't even know what that is in Celsius.
What? I actually want to Google that right now. I'm like, what is that? For all the people listening who are very fast at converting, I am not.
Yeah, I'm not either. But forget it.
That is, okay, that's chilly. That was what, so it was -15 Celsius. And we were about -15 and -20 this week.
It's cold. And I have to say, for me, growing up in New York, it's comforting to have cold weather and to have snow on the ground, because that's how I grew up. I know you didn't, so I know it's
No.
and it's and it's not so much fun to have to put on a lot of layers and to take the dog and yada yada. But it is comforting to me to know that we can still have ice on the river, even though it doesn't freeze like back in the day, really. It would freeze, and people would drive their cars from this side of the river to the other side before the bridge was built. People
You're
drove across,
kidding me. You could drive
no,
across
people,
the ice across the Hudson River?
yes, yes, yes. There are pictures of people, that's, yes, in their cars driving across the river.
Geez,
So,
I've seen the ice floats. I've
yeah.
usually threatened my children that they're going to be put on one if they don't behave.
I
Yeah.
I love that story, Naomi, because it reminds me of it used to be that in Ottawa, the Rideau Canal, which runs all through downtown Ottawa, where my sister lives, it used to freeze and people could skate to work. Like if you lived in
Yes.
close to downtown Ottawa, you could
Hmm.
skate along the canal to work. And then over the last 10 years, it's been very intermittent. There's been years where they haven't really been able to open the canal because it hasn't been safe enough. This year, I think they opened it 2 weeks ago because it's been so cold, um, that they've
Hmm.
opened the entire length of the canal because that's the only
Hmm.
thing that hasn't happened.
Hmm.
They haven't been able to open it. And it's my sister's saying it's kind of nice to because it reminds you of when you used to be able to
Yeah.
do that. And
Yeah.
what a
Yeah.
lovely way to get to work, by the way, to just skate
Yes.
to work. Like
I
that would
love
be
it. I love
that'd
it.
be
I
fun.
love it. I love it. That would be, I would love that.
I, I, I'm trying.
Your Texas heart
Eh,
is like, can
My
I get
Texas heart
into
is going.
skating to work?
So I have a funny story. Before I lived in New York, I lived in Los Angeles. And, I was working in a film company, and we would get both the New York Times and the LA Times delivered into the reception area. And I remember I had made my announcement. I was moving to New York. Um, it was winter time, and I was moving in the month of March was my plan to move to New York. It was the month of March. And so it might have been maybe March time because of 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 when I'm remembering. But I remember in my distinctly remember I had some blue linen shorts on and like a white t-shirt, and the front page of the New York Times had people skiing down Lexington Boulevard because they had had this freak snowstorm and there was so much snow, people were stuck in New York City, and someone was skiing down Lexington Boulevard, or it could have been Fifth Avenue, but anyway, it doesn't matter. And all my friends at work were like, "Are you sure you want to move to New York?" Because I was in shorts and a t-shirt, and I looked at them going, "I don't know, what have I done?" But my stuff was already being packed and moved. Oh, but how many years ago was that? That was 1996 that I moved here,
Oh,
and now
wow.
it's 2025. So I guess I like it more than I admit.
You're still
Now
here.
Still here. I'm still here, but you
Cool.
know what I loved about Manhattan is that I never had to shovel or clean off a car. And now, not
Right,
living there anymore, it's like,
right.
all
Hmm. Yeah.
right, enough about the weather. I am excited about our guests today. We should get on it because I'm sure most
Yeah.
people are tuning in to hear about him, not about me
Not about us skating in snow.
weather and converting Fahrenheit and Celsius. So I'm going to read his bio now, and we'll welcome him in. I'm pretty excited. I've met him, and I just found him to be a uniquely really interesting and lovely person. So his name is Raja Vaidya, and he is a
Hmm.
singing scientist and DEI black belt. He is arguably the global authority on something called invisible disabilities. As an international keynote speaker, peak performance consultant, and founder of a company called victorymindsetacademy.com, he empowers individuals to overcome fears and self-limiting beliefs. With 40 years in martial arts, Raja developed a unique system that transitions people from what he calls a white belt mindset to a black belt mind shift.
Hmm.
He is a Barnes& and Noble best-selling author. He has spoken at TEDx 3 times. He's trained over 2,000 pharma executives and received the Inspire Award. His work shows that embracing visible disabilities can boost company revenue by 350%.
Oh, that's
Well,
impressive.
your data
Pretty
geek
incredible.
self is probably going, what? He is also, get this, a cancer scientist and opera singer.
I know, right?
Um, right.
What
So
type
he
of
has three things that he loves people to know: that his wife is smarter than him, and he has definitive proof. His words, not mine. Karate's not just an icebreaker, and I hope he shares with us what that means. And that singing, which transcends all, connects us all.
I like that.
Lovely, lovely,
Mhm,
lovely. So, with
mhm.
that, let's welcome our guest today.
Well,
Here he comes. Technology likes to take its time. Hey there,
Here we
Raja.
go.
How
How's
are
everybody doing?
you? We
good
are
morning.
good morning. We
Morning,
are
Raja.
excited to have you.
What is with
Welcome,
my
welcome. We just
frame
read your
here?
bio, and all our guests are super excited to hear from you and hear about you. And so we're going to dive right in with our first question of the day.
There we go.
You've had a really amazing and interesting life journey. I was recently rewatching one of your TEDx talks, the one where you
Mhm.
talk about your journey, like your singing journey, which I just love because I was a bandy in high school.
Ah,
So I get all those competition things. Tell us a little bit about your background and what really motivated you to become an advocate for people around what you call invisible disabilities.
well, thank you so much for that, Lauren. And honestly, it's been my struggle growing up. I grew up with with a severe stutter, and even now I still have trouble with my L's, M's, W's, sometimes my R's. I can't say my name, and it confuses people because I was a scholarship student to college. I was in the uh, gifted program in high school, and I earned my spots. And I remember starting as young as 7 years old, my teacher told me that because I used to get into 30-second blocks, it's kind of like when you're in your car, you step on the gas and you step on the brake, and all that pressure is basically grinding. That was happening in my throat every day. So by noon, I just stopped talking because it hurt too much. And my teacher thought because of that, she thought that I was mentally retarded and told the guidance counselors, the other teachers, this kid belongs in special ed. Sure, I was special. I was smarter than what they thought I was. And so when it took me years to break out of that and show them what I could do, and when I did, they realized their mistakes. And so all along, I was trying to find ways to stand out, even though I was trying to hide. And so I found karate and I found music. And for me, when when I go out on stage, I like to really wake up the audience. This is the moment. This is the day when I send all my doubts and demons on their way. Every endeavor I have made ever is coming into play, is here and now today.
Oh my God, you're
Love
making
that.
tears come to my eyes.
And
I wish I could sing like that. I'm so
when I
jealous.
when I do that, people are in shock. Like, wait a second, he sounds so good, but how come when he's talking, he has such a problem? And they don't understand that duality. And so that's why music for me became a place for me to finally shine and show myself. It's the only thing I felt that I can do that sets my soul free. I'm sure that everybody has something in their life that, like, I every time I say that, I get chills. Don't you? I mean, just there's something in your life that is your life's passion, and it just it moves you. I mean,
Mhm.
every time I sing, every Christmas time, Oh Holy Night, or You Raise Me Up, or something. And like, I'm not even Christian, but I love music that moves people, because I think that's what we should focus on. Is like we have so many similarities, And to me, music is sort of like harmonic frequencies that create overtones of humanity. And I think
Mm,
all of us
Mm-hmm.
have that, is
Mm-hmm.
that there's something that just gels us together. And that's why I love music so much and why it's been so powerful for what I've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
just it's just another way to show that I have value. And this year in Toastmasters, this is even funnier. Um, I just gave um, a practice speech yesterday for our club contest and ran that. But also, I had heard from our program a director. They gave me the tap to go from, I've already president of our Toastmaster chapter. Now I'm area director this year, and they want me to become the division director for
Nice.
next year. So
Wow.
they're seeing, in spite of the speech challenges, they see my value. And
yeah.
that is what I'm trying to show people, is that everybody has an invisible disability. And I don't even want to call it a disability. We are all differently abled. We are all
Mm-hmm.
have
Yeah.
invisible challenges that we're all
Mm-hmm.
facing inside. I mean, there are 1 billion people in the world who have some sort of a disability or challenge. And guess what? That means in every boardroom, every corporate room, every workroom, every group that you're in, at church, at home, at school, at work, somebody in the room is
Hmm.
dealing with something in
Yeah.
quiet frustration and
Yeah.
screaming in silence.
I can relate. I just temporarily, hopefully, hurt my
Yeah.
back a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody can see that, right?
No.
But I walk around with that pain right now.
Mm.
And it's like it's rough. And I thought, what if I had a job where I had to do a bunch of heavy lifting and I had this back pain? I've seen people doubt others and not believe them, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I love the
Mm-hmm.
compassion, Risha, in your
Mm-hmm.
your messaging there.
Yeah.
That like that invitation for us to have compassion and to know that there's more to the story than we see. I grew up with a lisp,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember, oh, I grew up with both a lisp and I would say words differently because I learned to read faster than I spoke.
Yep.
And so I would see things phonetically, but not necessarily say them properly. And for the
Right.
longest time, even into like high school and university, if someone corrected me, I felt stupid. I made that be that I wasn't smart enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people would also make assumptions because I had a lisp, or because I was mispronouncing words and maybe I didn't know things.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have your courage to find something else to step into. And so I love your message about us having compassion and knowing that there's more around the story. And I'm wondering, what would, if I could go back and talk to 10-year-old Mel, what do you think I should have said to her?
Oh, I have the perfect thing to say to her. You are not alone. I
Yeah.
think the hardest thing that I felt growing up was, oh my God, I'm a freak. I don't fit in society. Nobody wants to be my friend. I can't talk to girls. I mean, can you imagine a 13-year-old trying to talk to a girl to ask her to
Mhm.
dance? And you already have enough nervousness. And then you got that on top of that, so we can laugh about it now. And,
Yeah.
but had I known when I was younger, there were so many other people. According to the Mayo Clinic, 5 to 10% of children grow up with some sort of a
Mm-hmm.
speech challenge. That means up to 30 million
Mm-hmm.
children have this
Yeah.
growing up, and some of
Mm-hmm.
them grow out of it. Some of them just learn to speak a little bit more fluently, and some don't. But
Mm-hmm.
1 out of 10 people in the U.S., wow.
That's a
And
lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
people don't even realize that the numbers are so high.
Hmm.
Now, think about it this way. Um, I remember, for me, I feel like I've only recently found my voice.
Mhm.
I've been taking Toastmasters now, which is a nonprofit
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
speaking and
Mm-hmm.
leadership training organization worldwide. And even though I've been in it now for 7 years, I've only, I think, in the past maybe couple of years, feel like I finally found my voice, finally found my value. And I
Mhm.
joke around this year. Actually, it's funny. The Toastmasters theme for this year is you have a voice. So
Mhm.
I made a mock song basing basing my struggle and journey on a Toastmasters theme song. So now I just talk to somebody else. They may make me or ask me to sing it at the district conference
Oh,
coming up in
cool.
April. And you know, I joke around with people. You know what? It's a good thing God gave me this speech problem because he had to balance it out because I'm too handsome. So that's my cross to bear. It's okay. And of course, every time I tell that to my wife, she rolls her eyes and like,
We
and
love our spouses. They keep us humble.
yes, indeed,
Yeah,
indeed.
They do.
And I'm proud to say, by the way, we've been married 21 years. This summer we hit 22 years, and she's put up for me that long, which means she's definitely smarter than me.
Congratulations. Hey, me and my husband the same amount of years, so
Hey,
awesome.
congratulations! That's fantastic. And
Mhm.
it's funny when I talk about people's perceptions of who people think they are. A
Mhm.
lot of people say, "Oh, no, I can't be as good as that person. I can't be as good as that person, or this or that." So we get that imposter syndrome, especially as we start to level up as an employee to a manager, to a senior manager, and beyond. And now as a CEO of my own company, in the beginning, I definitely had that. I say, "Oh, who's going to listen to me?" And so I kept looking for ways to, like, how can I achieve and show people I have value, that I'm actually doing things. And so I would always try to find the uphill battle. What's the hardest way for 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 me to do something? Um, I took karate because I saw the 1984 movie The Karate Kid. I was tired of the bullying, and as soon as I saw the movie, I said, "Yes, that's
Mhm.
that's that's going to be my that's going to be my life changing event. It's going to stop the bullying. It's going to transform my life." And guess what? I was right. At I started when I was 11. At 16 years old, I went to the World Championships and I took home 2 trophies. And then
Wow.
Awesome.
I made a 2-year plan to go to the Olympics. So I
Mhm.
teach a workshop called World Class Mindset. It's based off my journey from age 16 to 18. And I got to tell you, the struggle was real. 3 months after my 18th birthday, I went to an East Coast national qualifier. I beat out 400 other black belts and I made the Olympic team.
Cool.
I
And
didn't
this is a
Wow.
big tragedy,
Yeah,
though.
I've all the stuff I've been
Wow.
reading. I hadn't even
Like,
seen that, Raja. That's
Wow.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
amazing.
Wow.
but I
Yeah.
didn't go because
Why?
I couldn't talk right. So I thought the coaches, and I didn't want to be on TV and get picked on. And I so this is now where you see the downside of someone who has worked, put in the time, and earned a spot, and yet this invisible disability held me back and made a complete detour in my life. Plus also being first generation Asian in America. My parents, we were all born in India. We came to America when I was young, so I don't have I'm not having the same accent, but sometimes I can turn it on and turn it off. And yeah, I sound like Apu in The Simpsons. Um,
Mhm.
but they didn't understand what all this karate stuff was. They're like, okay, fine, that's enough. You did karate, you played around enough. They had no idea I was
Mhm.
a world class athlete. Did not understand. All they understood, my dad would take me to tournaments on Saturdays every month or two. And he'd say, "Okay, Roger, oh, you got another trophy? Okay, that's fine. That's Stop doing tournaments. You're bringing home too many trophies." He's like, "Dad, they don't give these away. You have to win
Mhm.
them."
Well,
And
way
I'm
to
like,
keep you
"Well,
humble, huh? Your
you didn't
dad.
get it."
Mhm. Mhm.
So, by the way,
So,
the funny story, that time when I won my East Coast qualifier, I really wanted my family there. Nobody could be there because my parents, my dad and my uncle had to drive my aunt up to New Jersey, up to like JFK Airport that day. So nobody could come watch me. And at the time, my mom didn't drive. So what happened was I won the entire tournament. Here I am, two firsts and a second. First place in weapons, second place in breaking, first place in fighting. I won the entire grand championship, which is one of those big 6-foot trophies. So basically like in gymnastics, it's the all around.
Uh-huh.
Closing up the tournament after 6 p.m. because everybody had to leave. And so I didn't have a ride. And this is the day before cell phones. So I had to drag all my stuff, my trophies, stand there on the sidewalk waiting. And then it starts spritzing rain. And
It sounds like a movie.
I finally walked down the block, leaving my trophies in my bag there. I'm like, God, I hope nobody steals them. And I called on a payphone and said, Dad, make sure you bring the station wagon when you pick me up. So I think around 7 p.m., just before it starts getting dark, and I'm starting to worry, oh, great. Is someone going to mug me or something? I mean, hey, I can show my trophy. Here you go. Just take those. I'm good. and,
So
and, and,
interesting.
and the point I'm going with this is like, people didn't know,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people out there that are super talented, super smart, super beautiful, inside and outside. And I want to share with them the journey that like you are not alone. There's a great thing. I got to tell you, for me, I think Toastmasters and learning to speak and learning how to control an audience in a room and guide that emotional journey was so cathartic for me. Because every speech, I finally got to say things that were bottled up inside me for decades. And finally, when I gave my 8th or 9th speech in Toastmasters, so one of my speech mentors in the club, her name was Carol Coster. She's a beautiful person inside and out. And she's such a good storyteller and speaker. And after I gave my speeches, she said, Raja, I don't even know if you realize this, but every time you give a speech, you're trying to give props and you're trying to demonstrate and you give statistics and you got the laptop and you got slides and this and that. And I don't even know if you realize this, but you are enough. And I had to let that sink in because nobody had ever said that to me. And I swear, I'm getting a little teary-eyed myself here because like no one had ever said that to me. And it hit me like a freight train. Oh my God, you're right. I never thought I was good enough for anything. And her just saying that in the speech, like, maybe next time when you give a speech, eliminate all that stuff. Because even just you standing there with your words, people see you and you are enough. And so that has sort of been my motto going forward ever since. And that's when I think I really found my voice. And that was only a couple of years ago. And, I tell people like last year, I just turned 50 years young, which means I've reached a third of my life. I got another 100 years to go. I have a lot to do. I'm just getting started. And so because of that, people say, oh my God, I had one person tell me, oh man, Roger, you're so arrogant. I'm like, why? Because I want to do more in life? I don't think so. I think that I'm pretty confident. And I think people that allow themselves to get boxed in see that as something as too much or overwhelming. And I just want to tell people that, every single one of us is enough. All of you out here watching me and conversing with me, I love that we can have this conversation and talk very plainly because I'm not a fancy talker. I don't come out with big words.
Raja, have you ever seen there's a TEDx
Yeah.
by a guy named Phil Hansen. He's an artist
Okay.
and it's called Embrace the Shake.
Okay. I have not seen that.
I think you would connect with that so well
Okay.
because you remind me of that,
All right.
of his talk. The Reader's Digest version is, he's an artist that does pointillism,
Okay.
and he got to a point where he did it so much he ruined his hand, like he hurt his
Oh,
hand, so he
wow.
stopped doing art.
Uh-huh.
And he missed it. And then he was talking with a doctor one day, and the doctor kind of said, "Why don't you embrace?" Because his hand would shake, so he couldn't do
Yeah.
pointillism. The doctor said, "Why don't you embrace the shake?" And then
Mm-hmm.
his art, he went back to his art, and it changed. like he could still do pointillism, but he did it in a different way. And it's just making me think of you. It's
Yeah.
like, who would think of, someone with a stutter being a public speaker? And well, you embraced your shake basically
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
said, you know what, it's a disability, but look what it's done for you. Like it was almost a gift to create who you are today, right?
It's
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
it's ironic you say that, because one of my keynotes is called "Your greatest challenge is your greatest gift,"
Mm.
and
Mhm.
it points exactly to that. I
Mhm.
gotta let me know. There's a famous person that said this once, and let me know if you know who this is. There are still those people denied the gift of speech, yet blessed the gift of song. Do you know who that is?
Mm-mm.
No, that's beautiful.
Oh, that was me.
A trick question.
I,
And it's
that was
beautiful.
a trick question. I I said that when I was 17 years old, because I was finally, you know, feeling like I singing was like my outlet, because my my when I started in ninth grade in choir, I used to play on the piano before we'd start, and then I found out I had a good ear, so I learned how to play Phantom of the Opera, and I taught myself how to play Phantom of the Opera on the piano, because we were
Wow.
singing it for a spring concert, so I could just kind of like match the pitch,
Mm-hmm.
and so I thought everybody could do that if they just try, but apparently my choir teacher said, "Wow, Roger, that's a gift." I'm like, "Really? I didn't even know I had that." So then in 10th grade, I tried up for the touring choir, and I got in. And then junior year of high school, I tried up for district choir, and I made it. And I thought, oh my God, I didn't I didn't know I had a decent voice. And she told me, Roger, next year you could even go to regionals if you practice. And so I made a plan for that year too. So the same year I I beat out those 400 black belts in karate. That same month, I had auditioned for the PMEA, no PME, no PEAA, something like that. The Pennsylvania Music Association's something uh, contest, and so I made it to a district. And at the time, I had just gotten braces, by the way, senior year. So
Yes.
I had a bite plate. So I had to sing like this, literally. So when I went to auditions, this is how my S's sounded. They only take, out of 40 people, they only take the top 20. I got to 14th in districts, and I said, "Oh no, this will not happen," because next round for regionals, they take the top 10 from each of the two districts. If I'm 14th and one, there's no way I'm going to be in the top 10 out of 20 from 80 people. And so I begged my parents, my orthodontist, please take it out. I'll put it back in later. I don't care. But, I don't want to miss the time. This is my opportunity to show what I can do. So luckily my orthodontist said, well, yeah, you've had it in long enough. It's fine. You're actually done. So I lucked out. They were able to take it out. But because I was forced to sing through that bite plate and suck up more air, guess what happened? I went from 14th out of 40, and they started reading off the names. Number 10, not me. Number 9, not me. Number 8, 7, 6, not me. Number 5, not me. I'm like, oh crap, I didn't even make the top 10. They continued. Number 4, 3, 2, 1, Raja Vaidya. I'm like, what? I had jumped the first chair out of 80 singers as a bass too. And that qualified me for all state. So I went first chair as all state choir as well. Now, I, I did not realize this was even possible. Everybody was in shock. Like, wait, Roger, the kid that doesn't talk right. My entire choir was talking about it. 200 kids were like, wait, Raja? I didn't know he could sing. I said, me neither. and so and so I I think a lot of this has to do with the belief system.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the time, I knew I could sing, but I didn't think I could do karate and be on TV. So I basically sabotaged myself and didn't go. And that was a huge missed opportunity for me because, like, being a kid from India and being raised in America, I was really a split culture child. So I could have been the first Indian kid to go to the Olympics to represent America, which would have been freaking awesome. Now that I look back, I could have been on the Wheaties box. Who knows? Um, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, more because of the fact that I think that, there's a tagline I use all the time nowadays. I end every single keynote with it, every single talk, every single live stream show that I do on Unbox Me Today show, and it is believe it and become it.
Mm.
Because if you look traditionally in the past, Muhammad Ali would say to everybody, "I'm the greatest. I'm the champ. I'm the best in the world."
Mm-hmm.
He believed in himself as a
Mm-hmm.
champion before everybody else realized it.
Mm-hmm.
And we need more of that.
Yeah.
Not
Mm-hmm.
the
So he
bragging
kind of
side of it, but that
manifested
belief
himself.
that
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
am worth more and people just
Mm-hmm.
don't see it yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious,
Yeah.
Raja. You have such an amazing life story, and you have accomplished and achieved just a great deal, as you've explained. What, despite not having a lot of kind of, your family didn't really understand the importance of the kinds of things you were doing, and
Nope, not at all.
um, it, you it took you right. It took you, this year you said when you turned 50, and your wonderful mentor and colleague said, "Raja, you're enough," which is just essential and beautiful. What kept you going? What motivated you through all of those challenges?
Um, that's a great question, Naomi. I think part of it was that being first generation, I was the firstborn on my mom's side of the family, and I was the first in America to go to the American school system, first to college, first to everything. So I had a
Mhm.
responsibility. I have 15 younger cousins, and two of those were, and I have two younger sisters.
Mhm.
So I'm the oldest of every single layer of my family,
Mhm.
which means being the oldest, I had a responsibility, and I took that seriously. For me, like family first. I think that it's there's you know, there's many ways to live. I think for me, my way is always family first, and thinking like how can I work together with my family, how to stay close. Like I'm very close with my wife and my children, of course. I mean, I'm always telling my daughter's in cheerleading now, and so I drop her off. I got to drive her 45 minutes each way to take her to where she has to do cheer competition or cheer practice, and that's 3 or 4 times a week. And now, oh man, next weekend we have two cheer competitions, so we got to do a Saturday and a Sunday, which is
Mhm.
it's really takes up a lot
Mhm.
of time between me and my wife.
Yeah,
Mhm.
We got to
I've been there
we
with
got to
my
coordinate
kids
everything.
too. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that sense of family has always been very pervasive with me. I
Mhm.
think that um, there's a what was it? Uh, there was I had read in high school there a Robert Frost poem, and two roads diverge in a yellow wood,
Mhm.
and I took the one
Mhm.
less traveled by, and that
Mhm.
has made all the difference.
Mhm.
And I remember reading that thinking, my God, that's such a euphemism for life. Is that, you know, I tell people like, don't take the easy button. You know, I just went to a Staples the other day and I saw the easy button in the
Yeah.
clearance shelf.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, do I
Yeah.
really want to buy this? It's like, no, it's just going to be clutter on my desk. Now I wish I had
I
because
know, I love that, but I used to have one. I lost it. But you know what's
yeah,
really sitting with me, Raja, is you kind of talk about, things aren't easy and,
yeah,
your success was overcoming challenges. And I'd like to argue that limiting belief. I think
yeah.
you leaned into your talents. You leaned into what you're really good at. You were really good at karate, obviously. You're really good at
Oh,
swimming. You
not in the
were good at
beginning.
school. So you became a cancer scientist. You lean
Yeah.
into what your talents are. So it mitigates that invisible disability a bit. I mean, that's what I'm seeing.
Hmm.
Mhm. Mm.
I mean, I appreciate that sentiment because, but I never felt that. I always
Right.
felt like I was always being judged, especially in corporate. Um, people, if you watch my TEDx, you've seen it, right? So
Yeah,
part
yeah,
of,
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, part of that story that still continues and still bothers me today.
yeah.
You
yeah,
know, over
Well,
10
and I think
years.
our talents are sometimes invisible to us unless we have someone
Mm-hmm.
hold up a mirror for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or they give us, tools and techniques to help us unravel and uncover things that are deep inside us.
It's
Mm-hmm.
making
yeah,
me, as we talk about just when you talked about like when you still see it in companies right now, what do
yeah,
you, if I could shift this slightly, I'm sort of curious
yes.
in the work that you do, like for people who work in companies right now that might be listening to this when we air it, what are the things that they aren't doing that they could be doing that would make their workplaces like genuinely inclusive to
Oh,
everyone?
that's a great question. Um, Last year I just got certified in DEI, and I learned a lot too about what my preconceived notions are of people with different abilities, and I realized that everybody's capable of something, and that is the key. Is that so I talk about mining for DEI diamonds that are already in your talent pool, mining for DEI diamonds. And I coined that term because it's sort of like in the corporate space, everybody takes a surface level view as like, well, this person's got a PhD, this person's got a master's, this person's got 5 years experience, this person's got 10 years experience. All right, let's just pick that one. But
Mhm.
so those are what you call the demographics of work. But you got to get into the psychographics of work. What motivates a person? What do they like? What do
Mm,
they love? What is something that maybe they've achieved that was out of the box? And and here's three questions I would ask every manager needs to ask, where my previous manager did not, and that's why it was such a horrible experience. And leaving pharma now after 26 years, with so much happening now, speaking on stages, educating people about this, and creating this shining a light on these blind spots for people,
Mm-hmm.
is that uh, number one, you know, how are you doing?
mm,
Simple question, right?
Mhm.
Creates trust, builds empathy. Number two,
Mhm.
are there any challenges you're going through? Let
Mhm.
someone open up and talk to you about it, and stop and listen. Human body has two ears, one mouth. And for those that have read Personality Plus, all my sanguines out there, sanguines are sort of like have two mouths and one ear, right? They like to talk twice as much as they listen, right? But in leadership, the people that listen more, understand, and listen to understand, not listen to answer, but listen to understand, will then be able to ask the right questions.
mm,
And the third question is, you know, what specifically can I do to help you? And those three questions are super powerful, and every manager needs to say these things. My last manager in corporate pharma didn't ask those questions. So that
Mhm.
position, after I left, I had just gotten a contract for like another company last year and had a fantastic manager. By the way, I'm gonna call her out. Shelby Rutt, fantastic manager. Uh, just a beautiful soul. She is so empathetic and so smart, and so you know, and after working with her, I had sent an email to the entire company saying, "All right, this is so long, farewell, and I can't wait till our roads cross again." And she had mentioned to me, Raja, um, there are a lot of people out here that are so smart and they make an impact on the company, but you uplifted an entire culture, an entire team, and there's very few people that do that. So she and I got along really well. She was very sad to see me go, um, and so now uh, the this is what this is the kind of people that when I say, you know, how do we share those challenges? How do we uplift each other? Are you the kind of person that without your title, without being the person that is paying the paycheck, would people still want to work with you?
Hmm.
Ask yourself that.
Mm.
So now, what I try to do with the people on my teams, I'm always saying, all right, what can I do better? What's one thing I can improve on? Because I think that, right now in the age of AI, the age of CDs, like I remember, this is one of the most technologically advanced eras in our entire human history. If you wrote a book, I was watching a documentary last night. If the page of humanity was 500 years, up till page 499, we go from the Stone Age to maybe getting vehicles. And now on the last page of humanity is basically the last year, this last century, where we go from the industrial age. Now we get the internet, and now we're getting AI. It is exponentially increasing.
Right. Yeah.
And so, but are we improving our humanity along the way as well? Right? Because I tell my children all the time, life is not a toaster, right? It doesn't work that way. Sometimes you got to let things wake up. Sometimes you have to let something sink in. I'm telling my kids all the time, um, you know, uh, don't be a problem finder, be a solution finder. Because there's plenty of people that say, we'll tell you. There's a great meme I saw on Facebook the other day. There was a painter, and he brilliant painter draws this beautiful scene of Paris over the river Seine, and posts it up on a New York corner, and he writes to everybody, if you see any mistakes, tell me. So at the end of the day, it goes back. There's like 100 things people are writing on there. Oh my God! And the artist is feeling horrible and defeated. Oh my God, I'm a terrible artist. And so he goes home to his family and he asks his mom, like, Mom, did you hear what happened? And she, being a smart lady, said, you know what? Paint the same thing again, leave it on that same corner, and write something a little bit different. This time, ask anybody if they see a mistake, please correct it. So he puts it on the same corner. And at the end of the day, not a single person has made a mark on that painting. Because a lot of people like to point out your errors. Very few, if anyone, wants to help correct them. So that's what I call, instead of searching for problems, you search for solutions. And so all of a sudden the painter realized, oh, I see now. People are going to always pick on you because they're not skilled enough to do what you do. And I've had people cheap shot me as well. And I used to take it personally until now I realize, wait a second, these people are not as skilled as me. So they're trying to take me down a peg or two. And once I realized that, I started realizing, you know what? I will listen to the people that are trying to uplift me and genuinely trying to help me grow. Those are the people that are my friends. And the people that are just trolling and say, oh, that sucks. I gave a keynote speech in Q4 last year up to the Pfizer World Headquarters in Manhattan, and it was at a summit about DEI. So it was called the Discovery Summit. It was about DEI in supply chain. So it's called DISC, and they had heard about my TED Talk, so they invited me to come speak there. It was my first real huge keynote speech, 45 minutes in front of 200 executives at Pfizer and other companies. And I used this software program called Talkadot to get my testimonials at the end of the speech. I got 105 testimonials in 1 hour. Wow. And what's interesting, everybody, 99% of them, positive, it was amazing, inspiring, and this and that. You gave so much value and this, and I came down to one at the very end that said, was not prepared, didn't answer questions, looked like he was nervous. looked like he didn't know what he's talking about. I'm like, wow. And I just looked at that and smiled. I see. So here's someone that can't do what I can do. And now that's what I see from that. Because it wasn't constructive at all. It was just basically a deconstructive comment. And if someone had even watched my presentation, they would have said, actually, no, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. I actually did all those things. So,
Right.
so just someone's out there trying to throw shade at me, and
Yeah.
it's amusing now. And I just think, why do people do that? Why do people do that?
Well, I
Why
think
can't we
it's more
uplift each
about
other?
them, to some
Yep.
extent too. And what's interesting, Raja? There's a lot of people
Yeah.
that would live with that one
Hmm.
problem. Like, it's kind of like the overachiever kids who get a 98 on a test and they go, "Ooh,
Yeah.
what did I get wrong?" Or instead of realizing they got
Yeah.
98% perfect, what did I get wrong? And I think there's a nice message in for a lot of people, leaders, non-leaders, to realize that that one like bad comment doesn't define who you are.
Right. Hmm.
And
Actually, I showed it to the event planner, and he just laughed and said, "No, that's not right. I was there."
Yeah. So it's more about
He said
them.
the same thing.
yeah,
What is this?
Mm-hmm.
it's more about them and
Mm-hmm.
how can we have compassion for
Yeah.
where they're not, right?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
There's something I'm really dying to ask.
Sure.
Um, so I find it interesting that you went and did this Pfizer thing with DEI, right?
Yeah.
That was the theme.
Yep.
Programs like that are really under fire these days.
Yep. I've heard.
And some states have even like made it illegal to have DEI programs
Mm-hmm.
in state state government offices, etc. Um, do you think you'll see that trend happen in corporate, or do you think corporate will double down? Or what's your thoughts around that? And how do a lot of people who especially are trying to help companies
Mm-hmm.
thrive by being diverse,
Yeah.
what's your thoughts?
That's a great question, Lauren. And I have a very pointed answer to that. I'm going to ask you something. In the end, we are a capitalist company or a country. Um, do companies want to make more money or less money? What do you think? More or less?
Obviously more,
More,
right?
right?
More.
So that means the VPs, the presidents, they are all accountable to the shareholders. At the end of the day, there's a research study done by the Brunt Report, and what the Brunt Report showed was that for every 10% in diversity of a company, there's an increase of 350% in gross revenue. Now, you don't have to do DEI because for the sake of DEI, that's not the reason for it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe it started that way, but that is not the reason for it. The reason is every company that is more diverse makes more money. They're more productive. They have more innovative ways of thinking because they have different ways of thinking and they solve solutions faster. As a result, more productivity, more communication, increased team matrix communication,
Mm-hmm.
increased profitability. So, I mean, there's no coincidence. I titled my keynote, Why Companies Should Hire Invisible Disabilities to Increase Their Profit Abilities,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, play on
Mm-hmm.
words. And the whole
Mm-hmm.
point is to show that, yes, people that, companies that are more diverse do make more money. In the end, that is what the stockholders and that is what the presidents of the companies want. So, as much as people say we should not be diverse, we should only focus on merit based hiring, I would say yes and no, because in the end, uh, it's going to come down to do you have enough diversity where that, like, say for example, you get one demographic group. Say for example, let's go back to the 1980s. Most companies had boards of, let's put it bluntly, old white men, right?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
that's great, that's fine. But as soon as they started to add a woman to the mix, or someone who's African American or Hispanic, or someone who was Asian, or someone that was a different mindset, or with a different culture, with a different upbringing, with a different religion, with a different preference, guess what? They started to see things differently. They started to
Mm-hmm.
come out with better ideas. In the end, it's not about diversity for diversity's sake. I think that should be avoided.
Yeah.
But I think
The
we
moral
are doing
code or
diversity
whatever we're
because we're
thinking,
helping the
right?
company make more money.
Mhm.
Period.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to also like not lose sight of this term, the invisible, you know, disability or
Yeah.
differently abled. What specifically, can leaders or companies do around that? Because, they can't dig, they can't ask, right? Legally.
Mhm.
So what's your suggestions around that?
Uh, that's a great question. Uh, what I said before about those 3 questions, what every manager should ask their employees. Here's an additional question. Is there anything that you could do to help us? Simple thing. Notice you're not asking about their challenge or disability or that you're asking them, what are they good at?
Mm-hmm.
What are you good at?
Mhm.
What can you do
Yeah.
to help us? It's a simple
Mhm.
question. And people are
Mhm.
dying to share that
Mhm.
knowledge with you
Mhm.
because it's been trapped inside of them. They want to help. They want to share. They want to help the team and the company. And you know, for a person like me who has not been afforded the ability to speak and present my own data at presentations, you know, 5 managers presented my data and they got promotions and I didn't. And one of them left my name off the slide deck. And
Yeah.
to add
Right.
insult to injury, she got a promotion. I didn't. And that's when all this story for me really changed. Is that all right? I had to do something. That's when I joined Toastmasters. That's when I started reading books. That's when I started masterminding and asking questions and started to push the envelope. And I noticed most managers just wanted to sweep it under the rug and say, no, well, yeah, that's not nice and this and that, but let's move forward and be positive.
Mm.
So we should be positive that this happened and no one did anything about it.
Mm.
So I think that as much as we want to spread this, we also need to hold those that are doing the bad things accountable in some way. Because right now, I don't see that. And especially in large companies where a lot of managers who've been there long enough or they think they have some safety. I I found it amusing when some of the senior managers, when I asked them, I was, all right, well, who reviews you? I say, oh, we do a 360 a review. That's great. Who do you ask? Oh, I ask the other managers. Basically, they're asking people that are the same line item as them, and not the ones above and underneath them. So, because they don't want to hear those answers,
Right. They're too
and
scared
that's
of,
not 360 learning.
right. They're
Mhm.
afraid, right? I
Mhm.
Certainly,
mean, so many people
Mhm.
are. And,
Mhm.
trying to overcome that fear is always hard.
yeah. And one thing I learned about fear and where I now stand out because I've I've now find I finally found my voice. And I tell people all the time that one of the things that I've learned over my own personal development journey is that, when I talk about for me, my 5 pillars of success based off my book, I talk about health, wealth, mindset, faith, and family. And like a rising tide, it raises all the ships in your life. And underneath all that is fear. Now, I've heard many different definitions of fear. My definition of fear is face everything and rise. Face everything and rise.
I like that
And
acronym.
Mm.
once I started doing that, that's when life started changing. And I finally let go of the shame of feeling like I was less, like I was a mutant, like I was a freak, like I didn't belong. Because as soon as I started to realize, you know what, I can face this, I can do this, and I'm going to struggle. And I as soon as I as soon as I started on a task, I knew I could do it. But that first internal self-limiting belief, how you talk to yourself when no one's around, that really shapes the way that we decide what to do next. It changes our trajectory,
Mhm.
Mhm.
right? So a lot of us don't hit the mark. There's a great saying by Les Brown, which I think he got from Aristotle, is that the problem with most people is not that they aim high and miss, it's that they aim low and hit.
Mm.
Mhm.
Because you
Mhm.
get what you aim for.
Yeah.
It
Mhm.
feels like a
Mhm.
beautiful wrap up because it comes back to
Mm-hmm.
the feedback
Yeah.
that you got from your mentor about you're enough, right? And you're not
Yeah.
alone. We
Mm-hmm.
just lean in
Mm-hmm.
almost.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
We have
Mm-hmm.
time for one more question if we have one.
Mm-hmm.
Naomi, you've been pretty
Sure.
quiet today. Do you got any burning question right
I don't really have a burning question. There are a number of things that you said throughout your talk that have really resonated for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the idea of shame and how powerful that is in
now?
keeping us, in holding us back. And
Yeah.
I do believe, I agree with you. We are responsible for that. And there's a yes and for me because I think the context within which we live either supports that or helps us out of that. And so
Mhm.
I think for you, when I think about your journey, I think about you took a lot of self-initiative and then you put yourself in circumstances where you could have a different experience of yourself singing, karate, and that really helped propel you. And so I think that and that idea of finding your voice,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think I'm on that journey. I think we're all on this journey. What is our authentic voice? What do we really have to
Right.
contribute? And I will say I have really found your story and what you've spoken of very profound and very moving. And I appreciate everything that you've said.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
Thank
would
you for
echo
sharing.
Naomi, like in addition to the Naomi, I agree with you that the power of shame, it was also power of compassion
Mm-hmm.
really for me stood out for self, for others, for not making assumptions, right? I love that
Right.
line when you said everyone has talent, everyone's differently able.
Yes.
Um, it's been a real privilege.
Yeah.
Thank
Mm-hmm.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
Mhm.
much.
Raja, for joining us today.
You're
Thank you.
We're
If I can end with one
so
thing for
grateful.
everybody,
Absolutely.
Eleanor Roosevelt has said in the past that no one can make you feel inferior without your permission. And I wish I had
Mm.
heard
Thank
that
you.
years ago.
Mhm.
And I heard that more recently. And I thought, oh wow, what a great
Mhm.
Yeah.
way for anybody out there who feels like less. You are not, because you do not give permission for others to treat you as less. You know,
Right.
I say
That's a
I say to everybody, I'm Coach Raja, believe it and become it. And truly, if you believe it, you will do anything that you want to do. The sky's the limit.
Raja. Thank you.
Love that.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
Thank
for
you
so
so
joining
much.
us
much.
today. We
Thank
really,
you
So
so
really
much.
much.
appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all.
And we may have to have you come back on again one of these days. Of course, we say that to all our guests because we love all our
Sure.
guests.
Yeah, this has been spectacular. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Raja, and take care.
I'd be very happy to. Thank you. My pleasure.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
We
Oh.
ran a little long today, but I loved hearing from him. So,
Yeah, he was great.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have
Mm-hmm.
someone at 11:05, so I have to jump up shortly. But yeah, there's a lot there. I love Naomi, that summary that you gave at the end. That
Yeah.
really spoke to me.
A lot of really great stuff. He really just so full of all of the human challenges and the human journey that we're on. And, he's such an incredible, I use the word example, but I don't really mean it like that. He's
Mhm.
such
Yeah.
there's a model maybe of someone who really embodies a lot of the things that many of us deal with. Um, so it's
Yeah.
really great, Lauren. Thank you
Yeah, Lauren, great.
for connecting with him and bringing him
You know,
to
he
us.
he really like just impacted me when I first met him. And um he's just inspiring as far as I'm
He
concerned.
is.
His drive and stick-to-itiveness and, all that. So I just hope that um I hope that that there's enough people that listen to our podcast on this and that there are people who will not lose hope, around what's going on in our current environment around DEI and know that, with every, stop, there's a gift somewhere, a lesson learned, with every circumstance. Maybe we need to look at it a different way and go about things a different way to continue the mission and the journey of the idea that everyone belongs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think that's a topic for another conversation because Mel has to go, but
Has to
boy,
go.
there's a lot there.
Absolutely.
All right. Bye,
Thanks, my
Mel.
friends, my best friends at work. It was a wonderful day today, and I look forward to our next one.
I do too. I'll see you guys on Monday.
Bye. Thank you so very much for spending some time with us. We hope you got something out of this episode. Now, if you liked it, do us a huge favor and take a moment and hit the like button. Did you do it? Thanks. Now, are you curious about who is next? Well, then please subscribe to the podcast. It'll help our channel so very much if you do choose to subscribe. Because, of course, the more subscriptions we get, the more opportunities we have to scale up our production, the types of guests we can have, and overall improve on what we can do to make the experience you want and might need. I feel like I sound like a public radio station fundraiser right now. Well, I guess that makes sense because we want you to come back again. So hit that subscribe button. It's super easy. Thanks so much, and we can't wait for you to join us for our next episode of Best Friends at Work.